Hello, welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 328. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Tim Spence is here.
Is here. Maybe, allegedly.
That's definitely not a reference to a false start we had.
That's Adriano.
Hi.
The perpetrator of the false start. I'm just going to blame Adriano for this one.
No, I'll
He had
take
nothing
it.
to do with it.
I'll take it. That's fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
That means I can bank one for later when I need it. I can pass it on to somebody else.
Some of our top stories this week include EA removing multiplayer mode from Dragon Age, according to a new report. We got a ton of PlayStation news, actually. So more PlayStation first-party games are coming to PC, and we're hearing about Days Gone coming this spring. The DualSense is caught up in a class action lawsuit for controller drift, which is apparently happening on every controller because they all use the exact same joystick. So that's good. Also, PlayStation had their, I believe, their first state of play for 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then PlayStation VR 2 has been confirmed. It will come with a new controller. So we'll be getting into all that. But first, Tim, why don't you start us off with what's new? And I also put a bit of a WoW section in here since you missed our BlizzConline coverage.
Of all the shows to miss, God.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? New. Not a whole lot. Still just plucking away at the Horizon Zero Dawn, which is really cool. I'm starting to like it. It was tough in the beginning because like you don't have any gear and shit. And I'm trying to do side quests and it's like I'm getting my ass kicked in these fights because I don't have the like means of stunning them or freezing them or whatever. But then once you sort of get into the flow of things and like how combat works in that game and using your tools and stuff, it's a lot easier. Meanwhile, I'm just there with like my bow and my spear trying to take out giant ravagers and stuff. And I'm like, why is this game so hard? But yeah, there you go. Other than that, grinding a little bit away at the old WoW because I'm finally doing Shadowlands content. And there's a new game that came out recently. This is like probably the most indie game that I've played, but it's pretty awesome. It's called Tastemaker. So if you're a fan of like restaurant sim games, that's pretty much what it is. You build a restaurant. It's sort of like a mix between, I would say, like loosely like Overcooked, but then also The Sims. So like you make a restaurant, you design it, you put the tables and chairs, and you can, make a bar and you can decorate the rooms and stuff. And you design the kitchen and storage rooms, and you order ingredients and design a menu and just try to make a profitable business. There's not too much to it right now. It's still in early access, but I bought it on Steam this week for like $9. And it's a good way to kill a couple of hours. I'm really excited to see what else they do with it. Since it came out, they've already put out an update to add a couple things that fans' feedback have suggested. And they also have there is like a story mode to it in the form of like different scenarios. So the first one is like make a fry chip shop and, try to make this much profit every month. And then the second one is this restaurant is failing, like turn it around and make a profit. And I don't know what the other two ones are because you have to get like a certain number of stars ratings in the previous scenarios to unlock the next ones. And I'm short 1 star from getting the third scenario because there's like an easy challenge, a medium challenge, and a hard challenge for each scenario. And the hard ones are like really fucking hard. So I haven't been able to get a 3rd star on either of them. But yeah, it's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with it. And I tried actually going back just with the recent announcements at BlizzCon. I tried to go back to playing Classic a little bit, and that didn't last long. I feel like I might have to. It's really difficult to fall out of Classic and get back into it versus retail, which is just like super easy to get back into at any given time. But yeah, that's kind of by design, obviously.
Are there people digging Classic, though?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, there's definitely servers that have thousands of people online at any given time. But yeah, that's something I'm kind of have some concern about when Burning Crusade Classic comes out, but more on that later. What else have I been playing? Diablo 3 with you guys, obviously. And Sea of Thieves as well. Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 actually had an update yesterday where they added a bunch of stuff. They did some balancing, some tweaking, some overhauling, some changes. And they added a new playable class. So the Druid is now in Baldur's Gate 3, which I booted up for a little while today just to test it out and see how the some of the new spells and stuff work, which seems cool. So I'll probably pluck away at that too.
I've been kind of keeping an eye on this. I'm not sure whether to hop in now or to kind of wait for the official release.
Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
I mean, it's for I mean, I know that game companies like to throw around terms like, beta and early access and all that stuff now, like funding a game as it's being developed. But for what they are calling an early access, it's pretty solid. It's pretty polished. It would be good to play through with friends for sure. I think I've done most of the quest content that's available in it right now. So the only appeal for me going back to it these days would be to try out different classes and stuff.
I was going to say, is it meant to be replayed?
Yeah, Larian games are always sort of meant to be replayed. They're very densely packed, but not super long games. So kind of in the same vein as, your Skyrims or Oblivion, for example, you can get completely lost in all the side stuff. But if you want to just do the story, then, the game could be 4 hours long. But it's because of all the side stuff that those games are 70 hours long.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I always appreciate when there's a macOS version.
Yeah,
it's very rare.
What were they saying? I think I just saw in a dev update recently. They said that Divinity Original Sin 2 just reached 100,000 reviews on Steam, where it sits with a 95% positive rating. So Jesus. People really fucking love Divinity Original Sin, and for good reason. It's a very meaty game if you take the time to dig into it.
Cool. Matt, what have you been up to?
I have been on the Watch Dogs train still. So I don't know. My opinion is turning a bit on the game a little bit. Maybe it's just overstaying its welcome. I don't know. So my opinions on the gameplay, the recruiting the NPCs and stuff, is still intact. It's still not a gimmick, which is great to hear. It's not like it became repetitive. But the gameplay is starting to get there for me. So specifically the missions. So the game's kind of broken up into, there's a few different sort of crime bosses and people in the story that are the antagonists, and you have to go and basically take them out. As you take them out, they get crossed off the list type of thing. So I've crossed out a few of the people, and I think there's one or two left. And the game is actually well written. The story beats are actually really good. And the cutscenes are really good as well. So they're keeping me engaged, but the issue I'm having with the game is a lot of it is told through sort of phone calls effectively, because you're a hacker, right? So you're constantly plugged in. And so a lot of people are calling you, and a lot of the stories being played out in these sort of long form conversations as you drive to new missions or whatever you're doing in the world. And the issue I'm having actually is that a lot of, although not all, but a lot of the missions, the story missions, are indistinguishable from side missions in their complexity. So generally the gameplay loop is go up to this building, you need this file from them, you need to get this, whatever it is, you need to hack this computer, break into this room, yada yada. You need something in this building, so break into this building via whatever means you want, go loud, go stealthy, do a hybrid of both, whatever. And then that's sort of it. And what happens is a lot of the time it's okay, so I roll up to a building, it's owned by, let's say, Albion. So Albion's the mercenaries in the game. So I'll choose my team member that has an Albion outfit so I can walk through the security gates, the camera controlled things, and whatever else. But then for some reason, it's when you have the uniformed access, people can just notice you not instantly, but like pretty damn fast. Like they'll be like, hey, who's that? I've never seen that person before. So you end up having to like sort of default back to the de facto like hack this. Like if there's like a gate or whatever, you like hack the camera, then turn off the thing. So I can skip that step, but then it's like I still have to sneak in to the front gate because the person's going to notice me right away. So it's like I'm still getting those same gameplay beats, even if they're slightly different. And there's been a couple of missions where the gameplay's been really cool and the environments have been really cool and all that. But it's just, I think the gameplay loop is just trying to get to me. Now, I have played quite a bit of the side stuff. There is some side stuff left. There's like maybe a burrow or two. One burrow I'm on the last mission. Another one I haven't touched at all, which are like sort of the sections of London that you liberate, I think is what they call it. So, I mean, I have to do that. But I think the issue with this game is just I've played the missions to the point where the gameplay is just starting to overstay its welcome, I think. Now, I don't have like an insane amount of hours in this game as far as I know. So obviously the game can't be like super short and then everyone would complain, you know, possibly even myself included. But I just think there needs to be more variety in the content, because when it comes to something like Far Cry is kind of very similar in that you know, go to this farm, go to this building, go to this base, go to this whatever, go to this outpost and liberate it, or go to this place and like kill this guy, or go to this place and steal this information, or go to this. So it's very similar, but the gameplay feels really rewarding in that like you kind of have like a lot of freedom in moving in to the place. The same actually exists with Watch Dogs, which sounds hypocritical, but the problem with Watch Dogs is that everything is, again, it kind of comes back to everything's hacking. So the game can't give you, you know, complex hacking problems every time. So I'm just like doing the same hacks to break into things. Like I'm distracting people with their phones. I'm shocking them with their optics, which is sort of like a Google Glass like thing. I am, moving in and turning off the security cameras. I am using the shroud thing where it's like I can make people that I take out, like if I, knock them out, I can make them invisible. I'm doing those type of things. And then there's gunplay and stuff, sure. But it's just, I think it's just, I don't know whether it's overstaying its welcome, whether I'm just straight up bored of the gameplay loop and whatever, because the game's quality hasn't dropped from the beginning, which is like good to see. It's not like they called it in for the last whatever levels. And I think I'm close-ish to the end. It kind of feels that way, although it's not confirmed. But I just think, I don't know. I think it's just, I'm now back at the point where it's like my complaint with the first game where it's like press square simulator. It's more than that now, but it just feels really the same. Like break into this building again. So it's like hack the cameras, do this, do that, whatever. So I know it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but like I am going to beat it. Like I like it enough to beat it. I've had fun up to this point. It's just, I think it may be just overstaying its welcome a little bit, which is honestly a shame. I think what Watch Dogs needs more than anything is in the future, I think they've expanded on how the team building works. It's almost like not quite a nemesis system, because I believe that's patented now, but it's sort of like in that vein.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, so like it's sort of like in that vein where you you do like a team building thing, which is really good. It's sort of like building up your Assassin's Creed or whatever. Except in this case, it's building up all the hackers. But I think the issue really comes in is that now the difference in the people does exist, but it doesn't matter as much. Like I can just kind of like, there was one mission I was having trouble with where I lost a couple people, like they got arrested, and so I had to just choose somebody else. And sure, like I kind of like strategically chose somebody else, but short of like one or two people that were like polar opposite of the job, I'm kind of at a point where I can just kind of go in there and do whatever with anyone. And I think that in and of itself is a problem. Like there's variance there. Each of the characters, each of the people that you recruit have unique perks and stuff like this. Some people have the same perks, obviously, if they're the same job or whatever. But like, I just feel as though like the perks maybe aren't played in the gameplay as much. And so like, this person can disable a drone, and so can this person, and so can this person, and so can this person, and the list goes on. So I don't know. I just think, and this happened with Watch Dogs 2 as well. I didn't play the whole thing. I only played a little bit at Ryan's, but the game needs more variance in hacking, I think, is the main thing. Once you've hacked into 20 buildings that are like of varying levels of security, you've kind of like done it. you've kind of like you've done it. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like it's like, okay, like I've just determined this, or like, oh, there's some tech in an event that I can't get to, so I need to summon a spider bot again. So either do I have a spider bot on me, or do I find a spider bot dispenser and then like get the spider bot to go over there and do it for me? So it's like this, just the same stuff over and over again. So I think that that's what Watch Dogs needs now. Keep the recruiting, but they need that variance. They need the variance in gameplay that something like Far Cry brings, where it's like I can snipe from the woods and I can approach from any angle, but I can also like have like like Far Cry is really goofy, and so the results are really like bizarre, or they're funny, or you can do ridiculous stuff like just whip a bat from like 100 feet away and whack someone, stuff like that. Like Far Cry is like very goofy in that. I'm not saying Watch Dogs needs to get goofy like that, but I think that Watch Dogs needs more variance than just go to this building and break in, go to this other building and break in. Okay, now go to this building and take this person out. Now go to this building and break in. It's just not.
I think with both the first and second Watch Dogs, I also rushed the ending because I was getting kind of tired of it.
Yeah, and it's honestly a shame. Like the story is really good in this game. Like the characters are really interesting. Like the antagonists are super interesting. The people that you work with are super interesting, and like it really is a shame in that is that I really didn't want to be rushing to the end. Now I will say, like, I am, as far as I know, and close to the end, so maybe I'm just fatigued of it, and then like that's just a natural thing. And some people that absolutely would go nuts for the game would love it, and I would be interested in another Watch Dogs. I think this game has proven to me that I would be interested in another Watch Dogs. Maybe I'll even try out the online mode when and if that comes out. Although I might still be a little fatigued once that comes out. But it's just, I don't know. It's just a matter of, fact that it does boil down to like a press square simulator. In this case, I'm like pressing L1 more, but like, I mean, it's like press L1 simulator. And I just think that they need more crazy variants. They need to like really play into the hacker stuff. It's like Watch Dogs 1 laid the foundation. Watch Dogs 2 did the style. Watch Dogs 3 did the team building. I think Watch Dogs 4, whatever that is, if it's coming, I think really needs to build the gameplay because I think it needs more.
I'd be surprised if another one comes out, actually. I know they wanted this to be like a big major franchise, but I don't know how well this last one did. You really didn't hear much about it after it came out.
I mean, I got it, like, it's new even by today's standards as of recording this, and I bought this thing, you know, around Christmas time, and I bought it for $30 Canadian. Yeah. So, I mean, I did buy the disc, so whether that plays into it, but still, like, I mean, that's pretty unheard of to have a console launch title come out. And then
it apparently broke franchise records, selling 1.9 million digital units just in the first 3 days.
I think it's good. Like, I think you should, you know, if you're into Watch Dogs at all, you should totally give it a go. I think it's the best Watch Dogs, having only played a little bit of 2. I think it's the best Watch Dogs, especially in comparison to the first one, which I have played fully. But, like, it's the best Watch Dogs, but it just needs more variance. I just think that I think the game could have dealt with having this might sound weird, having more side stuff so it feels more optional, and actually having a shorter story. Because that way I've completed it, and then if I'm a person that really loves the side stuff doesn't vary from the main story too much in terms of gameplay. So then I could just have my story, and then I could also just keep playing if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Maybe having character levels would work better. Like possibly like something where it's a little more RPG, where now that we have players or like NPCs, where they have certain perks, maybe having things where it's like, oh damn, like I can't use X person because they can't hack drones. Mm-hmm. Like maybe there needs to be complexity added. And to be honest, that might literally be just absolutely true, because it always comes down to, like I said, press L1 simulator, press square simulator. I think maybe the game just needs some complexity. And that would be, I think that's definitively, I'd say, what it needs, at least at this point.
Cool. Adriano?
Diablo 3, Overwatch, Hearthstone, Dead Cells, Sea of Thieves, Minecraft Dungeons. That is all.
All right.
Oh my God.
Wow. Is that part of your list? You kept the list right.
Huh?
You make a list now?
I make notes in my like the document that I forward you for the
Yeah.
I have to like just keep like an altered version of it because I always forget what I play in the week, but it's always the same things
Right.
over and over again.
I guess we should just ask you, like, did you beat a game this week? That should be the question.
Yeah, if you want, you could start asking that.
As for myself, I haven't been doing too much either. I've kind of beaten all the games I had like on my currently played list, and so now I've just been kind of looking for something new. I did say I was going to go back and play Breath of the Wild. I think I just have to get myself, encourage myself to go actually boot it up and play it.
Man, I've been getting the itch to play Breath of the Wild again.
Yeah, do it.
I didn't even play it that long ago.
You're gonna play it on your Switch, right, Ryan?
Well, I have to.
Play it on your Wii U.
I don't have to, but I already purchased it for full price
All right, go for it.
on the Switch. But yeah, I've just been fiddling around with Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing it less often, but still kind of plugging away at it.
You were trying to get us to play Destiny 2.
That's currently downloading, yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know. They announced some updates, and it sounds pretty good. So I'll take a look at it. I'll report back. And I got new speakers for my computer. That's about it.
Do they put
my old ones broke.
Do they prevent your computer from going to sleep?
These ones do not. These ones work as intended.
Are they gamer brand speakers?
No, I would not buy that.
Okay. I'm still using the same like Logitech speakers I bought 12 years ago.
Oh, really?
I mostly use my headphones anyway, but when I need to just have my like monitor audio on, yeah, they're fine. It's like it was like a good pair of computer speakers that you could buy from Logitech, which was like the brand back then. But it's, serviceable.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's it for what's new. Let's hop into the stories for this week. The first up is Electronic Arts removes multiplayer mode from Dragon Age. This is from Bloomberg. So Dragon Age had previously been designed with a heavy multiplayer component. This was from the people, staff members and whatnot, who asked not to be named. In recent months, it has transformed into a single-player game after EA was stung by a recent multiplayer flop. Now, right off the bat, I think it's kind of funny. The only multiplayer flop they really had was Anthem.
Well, that's the article that I read said that it was after they announced two things. They announced that they were shutting support for Anthem down, and that they were transitioning the Dragon Age development from being what was originally planned to be a live game to being more of a single-player focused RPG story.
Yeah.
Which is like what those games are anyway. So why wouldn't you keep that going when the Dragon Age core community like loves those games for that specific reason?
Right, but this was part of like EA's whole shift a few years ago to try to make everything a live service.
It's a bad idea.
But I just think it's funny because the Mass Effect Andromeda was I guess a critical flop. I'm not sure it did sales wise. But that was a mainly single player game. It did have a multiplayer component.
Titanfall 2.
It just wasn't finished though, right?
I'm not sure. Well,
like it wasn't
there was the weird facial animations. There was there's some bugs and stuff. People didn't really like the story that much. But I have saying that was a single player game. And Anthem was the one that failed.
From like the negative shit around Andromeda, I have heard precisely 0 from that game. Like nobody talks about that game highly.
Studio got shut down. The DLC got canned.
Yeah.
I claim that if no Mass Effect existed, that game would be praised.
I mean, but if no Mass Effect existed, that game wouldn't exist.
No, correct. But if it was the first Mass Effect game to come out.
Yeah. I probably I have that same mentality with Arkham Origins. If that was the first Batman Arkham game, it would be amazing. But because there's like the third one in, it's like, nah.
I mean, a lot of the times I'm playing those Batman games for the combat, and that had the same combat, So this is, let me see here what I got. Oh, so yeah, it's just talking about kind of what EA kind of did in the past, trying to add like filler and optional gear that can be purchased for small fees. They also wanted to like continually update games with new content over time, charging players for access. So the diverging trajectories of two recent games changed the minds of Andrew Wilson, who is the CEO, and other executives at EA, according to the people. One was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which was a single-player game released in November 2019 that won critical acclaim and outperformed EA's sales expectations, reaching more than 10 million players in its first 4 months. The second was BioWare's Anthem, a multiplayer game that was widely panned when it launched. The game showed that the single-player games could still be lucrative at BioWare, traditionally known for its single-player role-playing games, and it might be better off returning to its roots. So I'm hoping this makes for a good Dragon Age game then. Dragon Age 3 did have multiplayer as well, though.
Do you guys get the sense that EA is trying to take modular pieces and be like, oh, single player makes good games. How about microtransaction stores? Like, it kind of seems like they're taking different Lego blocks and trying to modularize games into yes, single player with multiplayer as an aside will work, and then connect those two Lego blocks rather than just make a complete product and have a good game. It seems like they're no, this game, which is good as single player, must have multiplayer because last time we had good multiplayer. So, you know what I mean? It just seems like they're being very robotic with what they're trying to build.
Yeah, they lean too heavily into things. It's live service games make a ton of money. It's let's make all our games live service games.
Except
no variety.
People can't subscribe to multiple live games all at once.
Yeah.
That's a really short-sighted business strategy. Because when you've got games like MMOs and then live games and either single player or multiplayer games, people can't keep up with that. Even the people that play video games for a living can't do all that.
And it kind of does make you feel bad just seeing these other games do a lot of fun things and you're kind of missing out because you're playing some other game. Exactly. I see a lot of what Fortnite's doing and they're adding cool Star Wars and Marvel and DC characters. And it's man, I wish I was part of that. And I just don't play it anymore and I don't have the time to play it,
Yeah, I don't know. It's on one hand, I guess they're trying to appeal to, a lot of those games, use the Fortnite example, they're trying to appeal to kids, right? Kids, They have their homework and then in the summer they have all free time. So they don't have a job to have to worry about.
But they don't have the money.
A lot more free time. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it's a subscription or it's free to play, and then you can spend money on it by buying cosmetics or whatever. But otherwise, their time is monopolized by the live game. Right. And I'm sure there's probably a lot more kids nowadays playing video games than ever before. Let alone because of COVID, but just it was going to be that way anyway. At the beginning of last year compared to the beginning of 5 years ago. I guarantee the average age of people playing video games went down probably 5 years.
Yeah.
Because so many more kids are playing games, spending their time playing games, and so many more games are marketed towards being accessible by, anyone from 8 to 18.
Yeah, I think so.
What's interesting too is I think EA kind of hit their stride maybe a high note with something Battlefield 1 comes to mind, where Battlefield 1 just was a really good shooter, handled well, was monetized, but it was, not really all that obvious, but, people are going to buy into that. The EA Access did really well for them. And I think they had these really big high notes in their career, not all that long ago. Battlefield 1 is a part of that PlayStation collection when you buy a PS5. For example, Battlefield 1 is held in very high regard in comparison to Battlefield 5. Now, I don't know how Battlefield 5 did either way, critically or financially, but I barely remember Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 is sort of the beginning of EA trying to connect all these pieces. It felt like they were yeah, just tack on a story. Yeah, let's just have some battles. Yeah, they want different modes or different yeah, I suppose it would be different modes in their operations. And to clarify, operations are really big wars where you one team defends, one team attacks, and there's constant attacks and stuff like this, and you fight for territory through 2 or more maps if memory serves in Battlefield 1. In Battlefield 5, they, for whatever reason, decided we'll make it multiple different types. So one map will be a conquest map, one map will be this, one map will be that. And then what happens is the game is just slow as hell. Like I'm just literally sitting in a house and just like kind of like doing nothing, and then all of a sudden the house blows up. It's like, oh, there it goes. But like Battlefield 1 is like total chaos, and like that's what I think Battlefield 5 should have been. And I've like talked to a couple people, you know, not like it's a huge sample size, but they all like agree Battlefield 5 is like they tried to clean up war. Like for some reason Battlefield 5 feels clean. Like
Make it neat.
Yeah, it's like it has clean animations, it has clean vehicles, it has clean call-ins. Like the maps literally look like clean. They're like, you know, big meadows and stuff like this, and it doesn't feel like they get destroyed like in Battlefield 1. Like Battlefield 1 goes from like a town, like a full out nice little quaint town in some meadows, to like, and this is not the game scripting this, the town in Battlefield 1 becomes an actual piece of rubble. The road is destroyed. There's fire everywhere. All the buildings are all smashed to hell. People are fighting over dirt, like literally dirt. And there's people fighting over like half walls, and that's what you're fighting over. The fucking windmills come smashing down, and then it's like Battlefield 5 is sort of like, yeah, but like when you spawn, you jump out of a plane. Okay, thanks.
Did they add a battle royale to that too?
Did they add what?
Did they add a battle royale to?
Yes,
Battlefield 5?
Yeah, I've played it. Like,
Is it-
see, like
is it
there. That's another one. I didn't like it. Like, it was okay, but like unnecessary. See, that's one of those things again. They tried to like, oh, battle royale works, and they like clicked that Lego block into place.
Yeah, that's one of the main gripes I have with the AAA game industry these days is like back in like the early 2000s and even before that, like, well, yeah, that's probably the prime time where like there were so many companies and there wasn't really that much, like there was no like 1% of the game development industry yet. There were big companies like Nintendo and you know, Sony, but there were still so many smaller companies making much more like rich experiences with video games, and like the focus was on pushing the industry forward. It wasn't about like, you know, making as much money off a single product as you possibly could. It was about constantly turning the wheel, constantly moving stuff, moving the industry forward through, you know, new technologies or new ideas for games and things like that. And now it's just become so corporate, and everything is just like all these companies just keep pushing out safe titles that will make like, you know, the shareholders happy, and then they just drip feed new features into their established IPs, and they just wait for a game to, you know, break out of the woodwork and have one like smash hit, and then all the AAA companies go, oh, that works, look at how much money they're making, and then they adopt that. So the battle royale was going off, and then, you know, and then all of a sudden Hearthstone took off, so it's going to be like card battling trading games, and then oh, now look, it's fucking whatever the next thing is going to be, I don't know, say Rocket League, and then all the games started doing like, oh, it's different takes on sports games, or like smash up derby cards, etc. Like everyone's just copying each other, which, to be fair, is like it did still happen back then too, but it wasn't about the money as much back then. It wasn't about appeasing shareholders. It was about making the industry better. And to me now, it kind of feels like the only people who are trying to push the industry forward are either like indie companies that are trying to do something a bit different and see if it works, or, you know, companies like Nintendo that are just literally too big to fail, and they're just like, well, let's just try something weird and see if people like it.
You know, you raise a good point too, because it's like EA has gone so far even to they're copying each other. Like EA has Respawn, I believe, which is the people that made Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
They made Apex Legends. That is a very good battle royale. Like I actually played occasionally on Xbox. It's free to play, whatever. That's a very good battle royale, well balanced, well whatever. From my little experience, I'm not very good at it, but like it is a good, fun battle royale, pick up and play, and it's a success. Battlefield doesn't need it. It doesn't need to have a battle royale, but they're like, no. Like battle royale is doing well, you know, so we need to have that.
Into battle royale though. 76 shoved into battle royale.
See, this is my problem.
That's
it's like, stop
embarrassing.
trying to shoehorn like different features or shit into the game that didn't have that idea in the first place. Like I'm all for adding it to the game in the future if that was part of the roadmap, but don't just like see something suddenly be successful and be like, oh shit, we gotta jump on this. Like, if you want to make a battle royale game, that's fine, but take the time to make it good. Don't turn your game like Fallout 76, which was not designed to be a battle royale game in the first place,
Not at all.
into that, because it doesn't make any sense. And you're either gonna you're gonna piss off your fan base because you've like mixed up the formula too much. People are like, what the fuck is this? Or B, it might be like it may just through happenstance somewhat end up working out, but the problem is that it's not going to be as good as a dedicated game. So in both scenarios you lose. So why wouldn't you just either take the time to design a properly fleshed out battle royale game if that's what you want to do with your current systems, or try to make the battle royale scene better by adding a different flair to it, like Apex Legends with taking inspiration from Titanfall 2. Sure, that's fine. You can mash up games. Those games that do that mash up pre-existing ideas, are successful all the time. That's fine. Or B, recognize how much time that's going to take. Maybe say, if we're not really that into it, maybe it's not going to be worth the money we're going to put into it, and can it, and then just move on. Like, pick a road and stay with it.
And if your road is working, like with Battlefield 1, the fact that it was Battlefield 1 hands down is the most chaotic shooter I've ever played by a large margin. And I personally believe that that's why it was so successful. And they decide like, no, like we gotta clean this up. We have to change how things work and change how the story works and all the rest of it. And it just kind of gets to the point where it's like, guys, like, you were on like, this road, it was doing well. You didn't have to go and follow everyone else. Disappointing.
I just want to see, bigger studios stop trying to shoehorn things into their games after the fact.
It's even funny to think that your fan base would like a battle royale, or that people are interested not in Fortnite but in battle royale. Like Marty played a bunch of Fortnite with us, and he never really cared for the battle royale aspect of it. He just liked playing the game,
Right.
It's not like he wanted to go play other battle royales, and that was his like main kind of game now.
Yeah, we tried we tried like Realm Royale, we tried Fortnite, and like, yeah. Well, the thing is though, is like the two games we stuck with.
Realm Royale.
We also tried Apex. We also tried Apex Legends as well. But the thing is like with Marty, like he was into it for the weird and interesting mechanics. Like we played Realm Royale.
Yeah, he liked the building and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like Fortnite with the building and like the constant map, changing and events and stuff, which was in its infancy when we played. And then for Realm Royale, like it was just like a weird battle royale, and it was just like he liked it for the features, and that those two, are the ones we played the most. Apex does do stuff that's interesting, but we never stuck with that. It's not like I think he downloaded then deleted Warzone. It's just like there's not much interesting going on with those games. They're just like default things. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just sort of like, like Warzone's good. Like it kind of makes sense for the COD crowd, but at the same time, they're not unique, really.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next story here. So more PlayStation first-party games are coming to PC, and the next one coming up is Days Gone, Matt's favorite game.
It's not my favorite game, but it's pretty good.
This is from IGN. In an interview with GQ, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan said it was a straightforward decision to release more first-party PC ports. GQ's write-up includes the detail that Days Gone will be the first of those PC ports this spring. But Ryan isn't directly quoted as saying so. But Sony did release an update confirming to IGN that Days Gone will arrive for PC in the spring. And he says, I think a few things changed. Ryan replied when asked why the company had changed its tack on releasing exclusive to PC. He says, we find ourselves now in early 2021 with our development studios and the games that they make in better shape than they've ever been before, particularly from the latter half of the PS4 cycle. Our studios made some wonderful, great games. There's an opportunity to expose those great games to a wider audience and recognize the economics of game development, which are not always straightforward. The cost of making games goes up with each cycle as the caliber of the IP has improved. Also, our ease of making it available to non-console owners has grown, so it's a fairly straightforward decision for us to make. Anyone here going to pick up Days Gone on the PC?
I played it before it came out because the Sony rep at the time that came by the store I used to work at brought it by, and I didn't really like it then. So I don't know. It just felt and like people have said differently about it, but I just felt like it was super bland. I don't know. Like I jumped into it, I was playing it. The driving around on the motorcycle felt really floaty. Fighting zombies felt really unsatisfying. I don't know. It just seemed like a 6 out of 10 game to me. Like doesn't do anything, too interesting or creative.
The beginning,
Kind
you
of bland
probably
zombie game.
like you more than likely played the beginning, I would say, and like the beginning is very bland, which is not a good look, especially for first impressions.
I can't say exactly when it was, but it definitely wasn't like, right off the bat. Watch some cutscenes, start playing the beginning of the game. Like it was already in, a bike had some upgrades, I had all the weapons and everything. Found a horde. It just felt very like soulless to me.
If you found, maybe it was like a special demo version. Then if you found a horde, because hordes are later. Hordes are definitely like what the game shines at for sure. Like it, like they're massive and like unwieldy to deal with. And so you kind of have to like make your own strategy. Like, oh, I'm going to drag them through this building and do this and do that. It's not like the game sets you up with stuff.
I think the problem is just that like, I don't know. I'm really burnt out on zombie games. I don't think that any zombie game now is doing anything different than any other zombie game ever has. Like as you're saying, oh, the hordes are like where the game shines at. It's like, cool. Lots of zombie games have done hordes before. It's like, what are you doing differently with hordes? Oh, there's more of them. Okay, cool. That's still just more of the same thing though. Like you're not adding any extra mechanics depending on different sizes of hordes. You're not adding, certain weapons are only usable at this point, or this sort of thing, spreads very effectively through a horde, or, there's no like, you're saying, bring them here. And that involves an element of strategy and like environmental or taking advantage of your environment and stuff like that. And that's fine, but it's nothing new. Like every single zombie game I have ever played has done that to some degree.
Right.
Whether it's vehicles or, weapon upgrading or crafting or, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing exciting about zombie games anymore. And I think it's probably just because there's been so goddamn many of them. And like, that's not to say that they can't be good games, because obviously they can, but there's like, I guess I just have like feature fatigue or like genre fatigue. I don't know. Like nothing is enticing about zombie games anymore.
I was trying to determine what zombie games I had played, and like I think maybe the reason why I'm still into it is I just do like zombie games, but I haven't actually played like a ridiculous amount. It's sort of like I played a lot of Left 4 Dead and a lot of Left 4 Dead 2, but then I didn't really play a zombie game for a while. And then I was a huge Walking Dead fan, so I played that game, but that game doesn't really pay. Doesn't really,
I was literally just about to say, oh, you played that Walking Dead game.
I played that Walking Dead game, but the thing is it's like in the PS4 generation, I can't name you a zombie game I played because I actually don't like COD Zombies that much. So
I played in the PS4 generation. I know what you played.
For zombies? Well,
yeah.
Days Gone.
Zombie U.
Zombie U, yeah, that's a good one.
Holy poop.
But although that one's like pretty early and like it was out when the 360 and stuff was out, so like
and it's now just called Zombie.
It's not just called Zombie, that's not on the Wii U.
Yeah. See, that game, that took some different ideas though. It wasn't just a zombie game. Like it also had, the different mechanics specifically designed obviously around the whole like Wii U gamepad thing, but at least it tried something
that was
different
pretty cool
in a zombie environment. I think that's the problem, is that these games are just like, we have a zombie game and it's like, cool, what's the gimmick of the game? Oh, well, it's about, a story of survival in a zombie apocalypse. Okay, cool. That's every zombie game. What else you got?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, we don't have anything else. At least that game was like, this is how the game works. Okay, cool. Oh, also, by the way, it's taking place during a zombie apocalypse. Oh, okay, there's the twist. Like, that's the problem, is that these zombie games, and maybe this just comes back to like the issue with, big AAA companies trying to make a safe bet and just go with what they know is going to be like at least somewhat popular and sell, to an amount of profit. A zombie game is a safe choice because, hey, people like zombies, but it's like, okay, cool, but what's the spirit of the game? Where's the soul? What's the impact? What's the gimmick? What's the draw? Oh, it's a zombie game. Okay, that doesn't grip me. Like, what else you got? Oh, nothing. All right, I'm out.
I think what the allure of zombie games is that it's scarier than just people, or it's supposed to be scarier than just people, and you can just mow down zombies where it's a little more uncomfortable to do that with, people.
No Russian.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
God.
So I wonder if it's just an excuse, not an excuse, but just a way for them to have you just like mowing down bodies and stuff without it actually having any consequence.
It's like Gears of War. Just call them locusts, and then they're not people anymore.
There you go.
Well, it's like any monster game, right? And that's fine. But I don't know. It's like zombie games are kind of a power fantasy, I think, because it's like, with like Walking Dead and stuff, when it was super popular, it's like, oh, here's what life would be like in a zombie apocalypse. And everyone's like, oh, cool. Like, I'd make that decision. I'd make this decision. Now I get rid of this person. No, you wouldn't. You'd be a fucking zombie, because 99% of the population is zombies. Nobody's alive on this planet anymore. You're not going to be one of the people in the group here. You're going to be a zombie. But everyone likes to imagine that they would be the survivor.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Also, that genre, I guess, is coming up too. Like, even we see with Valheim, not a zombie game, but like Valheim in the survival genre, that game is doing exceptionally well in like a very crowded genre, especially even by indie games too. It's not like it's AAA guys getting into the survival thing. It's like indie games. That's their big AAA problem, if you'll call it that. Like not everyone, but a lot of indie games are, survival games where like Ark is one. It's dinosaurs, not zombies,
But here's the gimmick, though. The reason that Valheim is doing so incredibly well is because every survival crafting game that has come out recently, like the last couple of years, has always been about PvP. When you get to the end game, it's always PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Valheim is about PvE. It's about co-op.
Right.
And that's what they're doing differently. And that's why I think it's doing so well. It's because people are fatigued about, oh yeah, we'll work together until we have our stuff together. But then at the end of the day, the game is about being the last man standing.
Actually, you might have just sold it for me right there.
I was surprised to see that it's doing so well, because I'm not the biggest fan of like Nordic fantasy and Nordic mythology and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the setting itself isn't a draw for me, and I think that's why I haven't picked up the game yet to play. I've a number of my friends that stream it, though. I've been watching them play it, and it seems, solid enough. It's still very early access-y type of game, but, it's fairly solid. So I was surprised to see, with so many things since, like, Vikings came out, pretty much, like, so many games, AC Valhalla, so many other, like, really crafted experiences are revolving around Nordic mythology. When I saw Valheim originally, I was like, oh, okay, here we go again. Another indie game about, Nordic mythology, whatever, pass. So when I saw it just absolutely explode in popularity, I was like, okay, what's this game doing right? And I think it's just the style of gameplay.
Yeah, I've played it, and it is very samey to other survival games, but it's also very, you're right, like it's very like it has almost like an Oblivion feeling leveling up system. So it's like, it's worthwhile to go out in the woods and like fight stuff. Whereas in Minecraft, Minecraft may be more about creativity rather than PvP in some cases. But, with Minecraft, there's no real reason to go kill zombies. Yes, you can level up and whatever, but it's not going to be even close to as complex as like a typical RPG. Whereas Valheim, you can take your Viking and, I've only kind of just started the game, but like you can take your Viking and you can go and like join someone else's server. And so you're taking that like RPG built out character with you, which is super interesting. Yeah, so it's like it's interesting in that like if I'm building my Viking base and like I don't know Ryan he starts and he's like, man, I really need help. I can take my Viking, whatever, join his game, and then I can go and help him do stuff. And like the game is grindy in a way, it's a survival game. It's like, great, we need to build this big thing. We need a bunch of wood. But the thing is that it's not grindy in the right areas as well. So one of the most annoying things in these games is like you work your ass off to get like the new bow or the new tool, like the new hoe, like for making a garden, or like a new pickaxe or whatever the hell it is you're doing. And you work your ass off to get that iron pickaxe, let's say. And then it's like, by the way, that iron pickaxe is really good for like, like knocking out ore faster and knocking out the special type of ore. But in like 100 hits, it's going to need to be repaired by more iron. So go grind more. In this game, it's like when I earn my tool sets, all I got to do is go to the applicable workbench and just press repair, and repairing is free. And so it's like it takes that like pressure off of it, where it's like once I've earned something, and it's just there now. And so like then the game becomes like, I gotta fight this environment. There's skeletons coming after me. There's these trolls coming after me. I'm in this dangerous biome. There's a big ocean, whatever. That's where like the game kind of like does take the PvE to the next level. But
and the goals in that game as well are very like community focused. For example, like there's those bosses that you could go out and fight, and you're kind of supposed to fight them as a group. Like that's by design.
Absolutely,
so there's that sense of community of like doing it together, and you get that sense of satisfaction. Like, yes, we brought that enemy down. It's like, you know, why people play Monster Hunter. It's because you get together with friends and you take down a big enemy, and there you go. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe sometime down the line I'll look into it. But as of right now, I just, with so many other things that I want to play right now, it's kind of at the back burner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's hope we see more Sony first party games come to PC.
Oh my god, I forgot the original story. Good lord.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Horizon Zero Dawn. It seems like a bit of a rough PC port in some aspects, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty solid. It's a good game.
It is their first, you know. I'm not sure if that makes a difference or not, but it's their first attempt at porting a game over, so hopefully they can smooth things out.
Hopefully any like complications they may have had.
I'm not sure how the Death Stranding port went. It was the same engine. I'm not sure, you know, what that was like.
I don't know. I haven't really talked to anyone who's played it on PC.
Yeah, I own it. I just haven't booted it up.
When they finally bring over Bloodborne, well, that'll be the best port ever.
They get 60 frames per second.
I mean, there are mods for like...
You had to like break your console.
You have to break your console, but you can get that game running at like, what is it, like 48 FPS or something like that?
I think that one guy got up to 60.
Did he get 60? Oh,
yeah, well, on a PS5, I believe.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so...
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Our next story here, more PlayStation news. The DualSense controller is getting a class action lawsuit filed against Sony. It's from IGN. A U.S. law firm has filed a class action lawsuit alleging that the PS5 DualSense controller is defective due to drift and that Sony was aware of the problem before disclosing it. The suit calls Sony's conduct fraudulent, deceptive, unlawful, and unfair. The complaint describes the PS5 DualSense controller as a defective as it contains a defect that results in the character or gameplay moving on the screen without user command or manual operation of the joystick, known popularly as controller drift. Further, the complaint alleges that Sony has, at all relevant times, been aware of the problems with drift through online consumer complaints made by consumers directly to it, and through its own pre-release testing. Now, I watched a iFixit video on this, and they kind of took the controller apart and showed you how the joysticks work and whatnot. And they said that basically the Xbox controllers, the PlayStation controllers, the Joy-Cons on the Switch, even the Pro controllers for the Xbox, all use like the same joystick manufacturer, and so they're like all prone to this issue. And if you go to like that actual manufacturer's like spec sheet on this joystick product, it like equals out to like 400 hours before it can start occurring, which is nothing in today's gaming craze.
So what if, and stick with me here, what if they're saying that it's because of faulty sticks that the characters on the screen are moving without user command? What if it's not that it's the controller's fault?
Oh God!
What if the machines are rising and the games themselves are becoming sentient?
Well, I welcome
this. This is just the first breath of life in the newborn sentient video game character life.
What in the hell?
What do you mean?
It's possible. Now, this kind of explains why I went through so many DualShock 4s. Remember I had all those issues with my controller?
Yeah, something's going on with you, though. Like,
I play a lot of video games. I play a lot of video games.
There's something wrong with you, Ryan. I swear, man. There's something going on with you.
The thing is, though, Ryan, is like, do you play double us, like double me and Adriano, let's say, on a PS4?
Probably.
Okay, you have like 8 times the controllers.
I might play more than double you guys.
How many how many hours a day on average do you play video games?
Too many.
Because Is it more than me? Because like I spend a lot of hours every week playing games, and that's like on stream, but also off stream.
With you streaming, probably not. I don't think I'd probably match that.
But I don't play controllers.
Do you play on controllers on PC?
Sometimes, yeah.
You always stop though, Ryan. Like if we play multiplayer, like you play for a bit and you just say I'm hurting, I gotta leave. Like not even that far in to like a session. Let's say 2-3 hours in, you're done.
Yeah, but single players I will play on and off like throughout the day. Like if I have a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right, I will play that a ton. You know, as long as there's a game for me to play, I will be playing it. And that's where I think I blow through all my controllers.
Well, see, this is the weird thing. Like,
is that the Ryan Johnson like motto to live by? As long as there are games to play, I will be playing them.
Well, it's kind of like my movie
Ryan
list.
Johnson story.
Is every movie that's ever been made and will ever be made is on the Ryan Johnson list of going to watch. Where it is on that list,
though. Like that's not
where
that's
it is
not
on
right.
that list depends on the quality of it.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and like, okay, so maybe Adriano can like chime in on this if he's accidentally muted
I haven't
himself.
heard of him in the
yeah,
last
I think he
hour.
muted himself. But anyway,
Diablo 3, Overwatch, Hearthstone, Dead Cells,
Fuck.
Dungeons. That is all.
no, but what I was gonna ask is like, okay, so my Xbox One, including my Xbox Series, I mostly play competitive shooters on my Xbox. And my Xbox controllers get churned through like butter. Like it's like I have the Gears of War controller that even though it has like the grip, like the Xbox One controllers have that like pretty significant grip on the thing, it's smooth. Now my PlayStation controllers, however, the only one that's broken on me was one that broke entirely was the one I played Fortnite with and Fallout 4, but specifically Fortnite is when it broke. And then the other one, like my launch day one, the like kind of top material ripped because that was like a defect, but I just like put like a thumbstick over top of it, like a thumbstick cover. So what I was going to ask is this because you guys are playing Overwatch? Because I find that competitive games, I'm actually naturally harder on my controllers because I will sacrifice the stick to like without probably even realizing it, but I'm harder on that controller because I want to win versus like me being like, oh shit, this NPC got me in a bad thing, I'll just press restart.
That's possible.
I can believe that because Ryan graciously sent me a screenshot of my Overwatch time the other day.
Oh no.
My PSN 1205.
Holy crap.
And
you were making fun of my Fallout time.
yeah, but Matt, like you heard the list of games that I play in a week.
Yeah.
It's the same list every goddamn week. I definitely play the least amount of single player games, and I play mostly multiplayer games with you guys.
Sure.
Like I mainly jump on PSN when you guys are on. If you're not on, I'm not jumping on. So like my PlayStation controllers, and I'll give you a rundown of them right now, I have my launch PS4 controller, and that thing's a wild card because sometimes it works perfectly fine and sometimes the down button on the D-pad doesn't work. And I find that the down button doesn't work when it's running on battery, but if it's plugged in, it runs perfectly fine. So like must just be like a capacitor on the inside, like maybe it's not drawing enough power. But then I noticed the blue one that I have in front of me right now, there is a dead zone on the left thumbstick when at the left thumbstick 9 o'clock position. And I noticed it when I was playing Overwatch is when I was like trying to strafe as Ashe, she would go into a walking instead of just like kind of jogging or whatever. So
that's
that
annoying.
that has pretty much exclusively become my Dead Cells controller because that Dead Cells doesn't use that stick at all. And then I have a brand new PS4 controller that I use for pretty much everything now. But because I play my PlayStation 4 so little, like I tell myself on my PS4 I'm going to play a Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2. But if I get a PS5, I'm just going to play those on there. So I don't have as much experience with the controllers as Ryan. But like my Xbox One that I have here is the one that I mainly use on PC, and that thing still works perfectly fine. And I've had this one for I don't know, it's 4 years, maybe 5 years now.
Is it Xbox One? Like what version of it?
Xbox One, the 2-plated one. So it is the first iteration of the Xbox One controller.
So no headphone jack.
No, it has a headphone jack. So it's a revised first version of it.
Okay.
But it doesn't have Bluetooth, so I have my dongle to go with it, and I have to plug that in to use it. And that controller works perfectly fine. It feels cheap. Like every time I clickety clack at a button, like it sounds like garbage. But that's just because that's just the way it was made.
And one of the most satisfying things I've ever had is buying a third-party controller that doesn't feel like shit.
I sent these two a picture of the third-party PlayStation controller that I found at my parents' place the other day.
The colors.
I have a third-party N64 controller still, a Mad Catz one.
I'll see if I can find the pictures and see after.
Bad.
But
No,
yeah,
it's
it was the controller that the friend got, and anytime they came over for multiplayer.
Yeah, the little brother controller.
Yeah.
There probably is a massive market if you could somehow match the quality of the box controllers, but reduce the price of it. I bet you could probably sell a ton of those, right?
Steel Series, baby.
They good?
It's the one I'm using.
And that's the one you were talking about?
Mm-hmm. It took me a little while to get used to it because it's a little more like narrow.
Yeah.
It's not as wide as like an Xbox controller or a Switch controller or whatever. But it's so comfy to hold, and like it works with Bluetooth. It works with wired. It works with the like wireless dongle that it came with, so I can use it with my phone. I can use it with my PC. I can use it with my PlayStation. Anything that's got a USB port, it can plug into it. It can connect wirelessly.
Oh wow.
It's solid. It's really good.
What are the face buttons? What's the layout?
I mean, they are
A, X, Y, B, like the Xbox layout, or they...
It's funny, yeah. So it's A, B, X, Y in the Xbox layout.
All right.
But both of the sticks are at the bottom, like a PS4 controller.
All right, I can dig it.
And then D-pad left side, and then it's got a back button, a start button, and a home button, basically.
Okay.
Bumpers and triggers similar to an Xbox One controller.
It has triggers on the underside? Oh, that's hot.
Yeah, it's got triggers.
That's hot.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, triggers
Talk
are normal.
dirty to
Are you thinking paddles?
Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. It doesn't have paddles, correct?
It's got triggers like a PS4 controller.
Okay, but it doesn't have the paddles on the underside?
No, sorry,
Okay,
it does not have back paddles. This is the
You're
Steel
getting
Series.
excited for like normal triggers.
Normal triggers. I'm losing
Yeah.
my shit over here.
It's got metal paddles. It's got rubber grip. It's got no. So this is the Steel Series Stratus Duo that I'm talking about currently.
Stratus.
Yeah, it's good. It's fucking good. I honestly, I on a whim, I bought these Steel Series like wireless headphones because I was like, I want to try some wireless headphones. But they were fucking expensive, so I was looking on Amazon to see if I could find an open box pair, which I did. They were like $40 cheaper, so I was like, sweet. Even if they're hot trash, I can deal with a $40 discount. And they were perfect. They were like basically brand new, not a scuff on them. They worked perfectly.
Wow.
Never had any problems with them. So I was like, okay, Steel Series, you have won my business with this. So then I started looking for other Steel Series stuff. I now have a Steel Series mouse and that controller, and it's all fucking great. It's really good stuff.
I think my next controller, when I need to replace my PC one, is going to be a Xbox, that Elite one, the one with like the modular thumbsticks.
Oh yeah, they're expensive, man. Because
The Elite 2 is like $230.
Yeah, there you go.
But I also bought, and it's a display piece. It's not. I don't use it. I bought that custom Xbox controller with my, that custom color one.
Oh yeah. Design Lab.
And Design Lab, and put my tag at the bottom on it because I had a feeling as they were going to transition from Xbox One, Xbox Series, they were going to discontinue those ones. So I went and just bought one of those controllers, and then they said, yeah, they're going to update the Design Labs with the new ones. So I might do it again, but invert the colors.
I've been watching Design Lab for a number of years now because I've always wanted to make on there a yellow controller but the yellow that they've had on there for years is like highlighter yellow.
Ah,
And I'm like, well, this is disgusting. As I go to the website now, BRB, we're making some changes. So Design Lab isn't available right now. So hopefully when it comes back into circulation, I can make a fucking just like a mustard yellow controller, man. I don't want this gross ass fucking highlighter bullshit.
Yeah. I really like Design Lab. I was really impressed with it. There was like I was kind of hoping that you could do each individual like face button a different color. Like you have to say they can be whatever color they want, but they all 4 buttons have to be that. The same with like the triggers and the same with the bumpers. I was hoping that they would kind of let you just go super detailed. And,
but now that I think about it, like having a black controller with like just a red right trigger and like a red D-pad, like that'd be cool. Yeah.
Red trigger, red right trigger, and red left bumper, but then like a black left trigger and a black right bumper, like do like a crisscross pattern.
Okay.
But
they keep going.
All right. Okay, hang on. Slow down. Hang on.
Ooh, doggy.
Let's move on to the PlayStation State of Play. They made some minor announcements. I don't think there was anything too exciting. I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed because the Nintendo one,
because the Direct was like, bah! And they're like, sweet, Sony, and Sony's like, here, and they're like, oh.
Well, no, people were expecting the Breath of the Wild 2 information, and they came out and they're like, no, it's not here. And then,
so I know that a lot of you were excited for this. Man, I want to see the live view count when that guy came out and said, there is no news for Breath of the Wild 2. But keep an ear. I want to see that fucking viewership just spike way down. No BOTW 2? I'm out. Peace.
I love that.
Watch it on YouTube.
I love the fact that it wasn't featured was an announcement. We have an announcement.
Yep.
There's no news about this.
It's not
like,
this.
Okay.
I think it was just because it's been so long. Like it's literally been more than a year since they mentioned it last. So they were like, we have to address it. We have to go out there. We have to say we're still working on it. We just don't have anything to share right now.
And advertising features the fact that they don't have any news on it.
That's like fucking Half-Life 3. Jesus.
So during the State of Play, they announced updates on several games and then a few things that we didn't know about. Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to PS5 with some PS5 enhancements, and also they announced like an expansion called Intergrade, which adds a character, I believe, from the original as well, Yuffie.
Is that what it? I thought they were just going to do the next section of the game. Like I thought they were just going to continue.
I think it is. I think
chapter.
Yeah, I think it's the next chapter, pretty much. Here's what's weird about the upgrade, though. So, if you have the PS4 version, disc and digital, right? You get the PS5 version
with, PS Plus
for free
next month.
Yes. If you have the digital only PS5, you cannot get the free upgrade.
What? Even
Because
if you
need the disc. Sorry. If you own the digital version, you get the upgrade regardless. Okay. If you own the disc for PS4 and you have a digital only PS5, you do not get the upgrade because the console needs to read the disc.
That makes sense, though.
I mean, that does make sense. Yeah, you bought bought a disc and then you bought the console without a disc drive.
Yeah, it is an unfortunate byproduct, but like there's going to be those like that generation jump where
now
people get fucked.
Final Fantasy VII Remake was also announced on the next month's PS Plus games.
Yeah.
According to the Japanese PlayStation Store, that is not eligible for the PS5 upgrade.
that is confusing as hell, but that also makes sense that they would not get...
Now, that's not confirmed for global or North America, but that does seem odd to have a separate version just for PS Plus.
God. It's fucking like, so from our perspective, because we know the game industry, we understand like DRM and stuff like that. We can sit here and like Adriano said, that makes sense. But for somebody who's like bought the fucking game, they don't play video games, but they're like, oh man, I remember Final Fantasy VII. Like that was my favorite game when I was a kid. And they haven't played games in like 15 years or whatever. They buy that, they buy a PS4, and they're like, yeah, this is great. Or say they fucking, they bought it for their kid. And then the PS5 comes out and they're like, oh, no, we can't afford the disc PS5. Let's just get a digital one. The kid's just playing digital games anyway. No big deal. Oh, but I could play Final Fantasy. I could play the next chapter of Final Fantasy on the new PlayStation. Hell yeah. No. Wait, why? Well, because but I bought the game. Yeah, but it doesn't work on this one. But But my friend, he got that game for free last month. Does he get it? No. But you said it was because it was digital. Well, no, it's a different kind of digital. Like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
It's
Like,
probably
it's a
because you
mess.
don't technically own it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
You lose it when your
you haven't
your
bought
PS
it.
Plus is gone.
Yeah. I would love to know the amount of schlubs out there that are playing PS4 versions on their PS5 and don't even realize it.
Aw.
They've just like accidentally downloaded the old version because like the PS5 is notorious for just not managing that properly.
Great.
Mhm.
And it just
Uh,
sorry, go ahead.
well, I was going to move on. Do you have more to say?
No, it's just I find the whole jump from like PS4 to PS5 in like certain editions just this
It's been messy.
this
the
like
worst.
whole this whole victory lap from one generation to another, just like a whole ridiculous mess.
I can't wait till we're through it and there's just PS5 games.
Like, at least
Man.
there's the functionality, which is nice. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, please just get the PS5 games.
But people also need PS5s, which they can't get. So,
Yep.
My brother's actively shot, like he's on Discords that alert him for restocks, and he's going to try to get himself and myself one whenever they come back in stock.
which Sony says hopefully by the last quarter of this year. So in
Hooray,
time for
6
Christmas.
months away.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, PS5 edition was revealed. Native 4K at 60 frames per second.
Is that going to be the same as the PC version on the Blizzard store?
I don't know. Returnal. We got more of a look at Returnal. This didn't really interest me until I kind of learned it was from Housemark.
Okay, yeah. So I remember watching the teaser and learning about this game when they first revealed it this time last year or whenever it was, and I did not give a fuck about it. And then when they showed it this time around, I was far more interested in it for some reason. Like I don't know, it looked the exact same, but I'm just like, maybe I've just matured in a certain direction in the last 12 months, and certain life experiences with a certain pandemic may have just maybe rethink certain things.
It's changed you as a person. It's like me. I was like, man, I fucking hate zombie games. And now it's like, oh, what's this? A new zombie game? Do tell.
Existential tones into the game. Oh, this makes
what?
sense.
Oh.
But yeah, this is you played a lot of Resogun, Adriano. This is made by the same developers.
Oh man, I fucking love Resogun.
It looks like they're kind of taking that influence in that kind of like stick shooter type of game, but making it more of a third person, adventure.
It looks like you're constantly fucking moving in this game.
Yeah.
Like if you stand still, you're dead.
Oh god.
Which kind of interests me.
It kills my anxiety, man. I can't do it. I need to just breathe for a second. Jesus.
A new game we saw was called Sifu. It's a new Sifu.
Yeah.
It's a new action a game that resembles classic martial arts action films. It basically looks like you just like walk through hallways and areas and just punch people. It looks pretty great, actually.
Also known as my high school experience.
I was listening to a podcast and they were saying it kind of looks like people just watched the hallway scenes from Daredevil on Netflix.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm like it looks like Charlie Cox beating up people.
Yeah. Kenna Bridge of Spirits is a game that interests me quite a bit.
This game looks adorable.
Being made by 23 people?
Really?
Yeah, it looks insane, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people compared it to like Pixar in terms of its style and just like amount of detail they can pack into
the art and the animation honestly is what sells that game for me.
Yeah,
I just want to look at it.
It's just so it's just like it's just that beautiful just the polish. Ugh. Yeah.
And then Deathloop.
I'm absolutely going to play that game when it comes out. Bridge of Spirits.
Deathloop. We got a new trailer for that, and they had like a James Bond kind of song playing.
It is impressive how many times they've shown off that game and how little a shit I give about it. I think
the objective is clear.
I mean, either
what do you do in the game other than run around and shoot? Like
you try to survive. If you die, you start over again and you do it. Like you have to figure out. It's sort of like Hitman, but you're on a timer, and like also there's another person trying to kill you too, while you also try to kill the bosses and stuff.
Right.
So it's like, and it's like, oh, you go around, you can try doing things this way. Oh, try doing it this way this time. Oh, this guard, patrols to this part of the map. So go to this part of the map at this point. But then you have to figure out the most like efficient path. It's like, oh, sorry, you ran out of time. Well, start it over again.
It's funny that Sony has to promote this, knowing that that's going to go help their competitors soon.
Yeah, Bethesda's game. Yeah.
They've just released a game on Xbox themselves. Sony PlayStation Studios.
What?
MLB The Show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That
Finally.
cover looks so weird. Like it's an Xbox game with a PlayStation logo on it. It's really
That
weird
is
to look
weird.
at. Yeah.
So
Pretty
fingers in that
small
pie.
state of play.
This Deathloop is this is from the Dishonored people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then like this explains why I have no interest in the game. Is I Dishonored like it looks cool and like I tell myself I'm like I should be interested in it, but it just never took to me. Like I'm probably never gonna touch a Dishonored franchise, and I will probably not play Deathloop.
I played through Dishonored at a very particular point in my life, and I had fun with it. But even though I own Dishonored 2, I will probably never play it, and I will probably never go back to Dishonored.
And
But I liked it when I played it.
There's a standalone. No, like there's another entry, right? There's an expansion or something after 2.
Something about killing the Traveler was for 2, yeah. Who's
I
like
have.
the god entity that gave you your powers or something?
So I don't
Yeah,
know
whatever.
anything about the first game, but I have from like EV Games or GameStop or whatever the pack of Dishonored like playing cards. Like I guess
I have that too.
Yeah, I have those too, and like
Yep.
I've never played the game,
tarot
so
cards.
I have no reference to it at all. But it's just like a really nice deck of cards.
Mhm. Yep.
Our final story for the week to end off our PlayStation news here: PlayStation VR 2 was confirmed, and it will come with a new controller from IGN here. Sony confirmed that PSVR 2 will come to PS5 and will connect to PS5 with a single cord to simplify setup and improve ease of use while enabling a high-fidelity visual experience. It's described as a next-gen VR system that enhances everything from resolution and field of view to tracking and input. But other than that, we don't have too much details. I think it's still pretty far away. It won't be launching in 2021, so
Is it a new headset?
I believe so. Yeah, I think
okay.
it's a whole.
I guess it
new
would
deal,
have to
yeah.
be, right? So
Yeah,
Are you going to
Okay.
get this, Ryan?
I think this might be when I would jump in. I do want it for PC, a VR headset for PC, just because there's more options there.
Mm.
But this might just be like a toe in the
Why
water
not
type of deal.
both?
I wonder if the latency will be low enough with this that it won't make me sick.
It is through a cable. It's not wireless. I could.
Well, like on the PS4, it was also through a cable, but the latency still fucking killed me.
Well, does it have to go through that little box too, though? I don't remember.
This one won't.
But
No, it said it's just straight to the headset.
But how? Wait, for PSVR?
Yeah.
What was that little box that we discussed like a long time ago now?
The first version of PSVR had a breakout box that you needed to go through.
Oh.
Like the first, and then they revised it, and then I think there was a early version of it that needed it.
Okay.
Well, as it stands, like the current PSVR, you still have to have that box.
Oh, you do?
You
Oh,
do
for
have to have
PS4,
the box.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. There you
absolutely you do.
And you need an adapter for PS5.
If you're using the current one, yes.
So
Yes.
that little box might introduce the latency that you're talking about.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I've never used like an HTC Vive or anything
Mhm.
with a PC, which I would imagine would have extremely low latency on PC if you have a fucking rig that can run that. That might be better. I don't know. I tried using PSVR and it made me sick. So
In terms of
Like,
latency, are you meaning like your actions not being seen quick enough, or is it literally the refresh rate of the display?
not the display, no. Like it's the anticipation of motion and then it not happening. Like when
It's not happening
It's the
fast
same
enough for
reason.
you.
It's the
Okay.
same reason that I get car sick.
Okay. That's all
So-
we got?
Maybe
I don't know.
maybe I'll try this PSVR too. I don't think I don't get motion sickness at all. Like it's just never been a factor for me. But I also never tried VR, so maybe
Must be nice.
this will be the thing that does it. But if VR motion sickness and car sickness go like hand in hand, I should be okay. I'm fortunate I don't have that.
I love roller coasters, but they make me puke.
Like the actual up down the path ones, or like the circular rides, like the teacup rides. Do both of them make you sick, or just the
Yeah,
one type?
everything.
Oh, really? Okay.
How's
That's it?
about that World of Warcraft?
Yeah, what's happening with that?
Wait, I thought you covered that in the.
Hmm?
Oh, did you not cover that yet?
No?
Oh,
Right.
I had asked during your what's new. Oh, but tell us about WoW.
So, like, for those who listened last week, there was a very brief mentioning of BlizzCon Line that was happening, like literally right as the show was happening, and I couldn't be on last week, and I was like, fuck, man, of course, like, of all the shows to miss, it had to be the one about Warcraft, which is something I could talk about for hours. But just really quickly glossing over, what I wanted to talk about was the fact that, so when WoW Classic first came out, people were like, who the fuck is gonna want to go back and play WoW Classic? Like, the game is so much like easier to play now. It's more engaging to a certain extent, but people fucking jumped on WoW Classic. Like, everyone who was super like nostalgic for the old school MMO experience, like back where it started it all, and there was, it was a lot more like of an intensive experience. So like, you couldn't just go and run and do a dungeon. Like, you had to attune to it. Like, you had to do a certain quest. You had to get a certain item or whatever, and then go back to an NPC, and then you were allowed to go into the dungeon. Like, all this little like nitty gritty shit that you had to do. People who like really old school RPGs, are really big fans of it. And like, I started playing WoW when it was, I think, maybe a month before the first expansion came out. So technically, I'm like a vanilla player, but I only really started playing it when the second expansion came out. But when Classic came out, they were selling it like it's gonna be OG Classic WoW forever. They're gonna roll out updates the same way that they did, like, they're gonna roll out progression for like raids that are opening up, dungeons that are opening up, features that are opening up, as they did back in the day. Like, they're not just releasing WoW Classic at like the end of its life cycle. They opened it up at the beginning of when the game came out, and then over the next, every couple of months, they would put out this dungeon and put out this raid and put out this raid and put out this, PvP armor set and put out this raid and blah, blah. So you had that sense of like continuing to go back to that game, right? Because they wanted to keep people playing it and add something new every once in a while. But they sold it that it was always going to be WoW Classic. And I was like, and then people started saying like, oh, when are they going to add Burning Crusade Classic, which is the first expansion for WoW? And I was like, that's so stupid. Like, why would they start rolling out the expansions again? Because then you're just going to have two instances of this live MMO at two different points in time. Because if they start adding expansions, then what are we going to have, like Shadowlands Classic, like 5 years from now? Or are they just going to release a new expansion every year? So when they officially announced Burning Crusade Classic at BlizzCon Line this year, I was like, the same thing. I was like, that's fucking stupid. Like, now you've set the precedent that other expansions can come out for Classic, and when's it going to end? But then I started to go into forums. I started to look into it and see what other people were saying, and apparently the person who's the lead producer for WoW Classic, Holly Longdale, she used to actually work for EverQuest. And apparently this is something that EverQuest has done as well, is they started to re-release old expansions. Like, they opened up new servers that were just the old expansion content. So people could go back and they could make their characters and just play perpetually in whatever expansion they wanted to play in. And apparently it was insanely popular. Like, it started making EverQuest like a shit ton of money. So it's no surprise that she would want to do something similar for Classic, and she's been playing WoW like since it was first available. So she's, very steeped in this Blizzard, this beast that Blizzard has been running for the last 16 years or whatever. Another thing that people were saying is that it is possible that, so for like the Classic world, air quotes, Classic, would include up to the third expansion, just because in the fourth expansion, which was Cataclysm, was when the world like actually changed. Like, no matter, like, the main continents and shit, everything changed. Like, you got new playable races, existing races got new classes, quest lines in every zone changed, everything completely changed. So to have the Classic WoW experience is technically the first three expansions still. So some people were saying they'll
go up to that and then cut it there.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like, technically Classic is not just vanilla WoW, it's like old world WoW. So they're saying, oh, we'll have this new world, which is the retail version of the game, and then classic will be they'll release the the second expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, and then that'll probably be it. Because they're like, if they go beyond that, then you've just got 2 instances of the same game at different times. That doesn't make any sense.
Because did you watch the Q&A? Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I watched that, and then they were explaining like how you have to make a decision on launch day to keep your character in just the
what
classic,
they're calling era servers or progression servers.
and then you can pay to then keep them in both.
Yeah,
Like,
you can pay a fee,
you can
of
clone
course.
it. Yeah.
You can clone your character, and you can have one in the progression server and one in an era server. And the fact that they're saying progression heavily implies they're going to keep doing expansions, which they never explicitly said, but it's like, I mean, you can read between the lines. Yeah, I don't know. At first I was like, this is fucking stupid, but then as I like kept reading into it, I was like, I can see why they would do it this way. And like, to be honest, if I could play WoW just at like the end of Wrath of the Lich King and that's where it stopped, I might do that. But at the same time, like, I was also 16 years old when I was playing that, and like, I probably don't have the fucking time to play that much WoW anymore. But just to go back, you know, even for a month and just enjoy that nostalgia might be fun. But the other issue, so Burning Crusade was where a lot of like what the features are in WoW now, a lot of people take for granted. So like the fact that there's this other, you know, world outside of the main world that you can go and see, having the 2 new races, the Blood Elves and the Draenei, you know, those weren't always in the game. Arenas, PvP arenas weren't in the game until Burning Crusade came out. So it was all just like open battlegrounds. It wasn't 2v2s or 3v3s or anything. Flying mounts. So there were mounts in the game in Classic, but none of them could fly, which is like what everybody fucking has now in the retail game. And then, you know, there's some other things like other professions and reputations and things like that. A lot of people, so the biggest disparity that I've seen from people commenting on not only that that interview that Holly Longdale and a couple other of the like main devs did, which was really not so much like an info dump as it was about like 18 minutes of them describing their experience playing WoW back in the day, and everyone's like, cool, like get onto the information. So that was kind of just a gripe for that fucking video. But anyway, they're releasing like PvE content. So like I said before with WoW Classic, they're releasing updates for the game in phases. So like it'll be this raid and this raid, and then, you know, this PvP thing and this raid and this PvP thing and this raid, just months and months apart. For this one, for whatever reason, they're releasing like PvP and PvE content like not timed the same way that it was when it first came out. So like there's different tiers of gear, like end game gear in MMOs. If you play MMOs, you'll be familiar with like an item level, for example, for your character. And when the game came out, they had it like synced up that like tier 1 PvE gear for the dungeons in this expansion would match up with tier 1 PvP gear. So like, you know, there wasn't a huge like level or stat disparity. And if you're just playing WoW to play PvP, you'll be able to keep up with everybody as long as you know, keep getting your gear and stuff. But for this, they're releasing like tier 5 PvP gear with tier 1 PvP. So you're just going to have a bunch of people in PvP that only want to play PvP, just getting dominated by people with tier 5 PvE gear because they've gone and they've done dungeons and they've done raids and they've played the game how these other people don't want to play. So it doesn't really make sense that they're doing it that way, and a lot of people are fucking pissed about that. But again, that's hopefully something that they're going to address. They've said they're going to listen to fan feedback, but we'll see. Of course, if you don't do any PvP in MMOs, it doesn't affect you because you're never going to come across that problem. But I don't know. It'd be cool to go back and play these old raids like when everyone else is playing them again too, because it's something that I never really got the chance to do as a kid playing WoW. Just because I didn't really understand the concept of like playing an MMO and leveling up and getting to the end game, and then that's when you can play what like everybody else is playing. I always just liked making characters and like exploring the world and following quest lines and things like that. So I didn't get to do end game content until I was playing Wrath of the Lich King. But yeah, that's my WoW spiel. So if you're into WoW at all, WoW Classic, it's changing for better, for worse. Who knows? Are you gonna stick in the classic world forever, or are you gonna move on like probably the majority of people are? Only time will tell. But I'm afraid now that they're going to be splitting the servers between like classic servers and then progression servers. There's going to be a lot of really empty servers out there.
How would you take it? Like, okay, so with like an MMO, you can be like really dedicated to one character, obviously, for like a really long time. And I'm sure there's like a subset of people out there that have very few characters, maybe even just one that they've played for years. And so what I was going to ask is like, okay, you have to choose, you know, progression, like within WoW Classic, you have this whole like, you know, basically two like silos now, I guess you could say. You have like, you could stay with the original WoW Classic the way it was, or you could go with WoW Classic with Burning Crusade. There seems to be like in the forum, like you were saying, there's a lot of assumptions going on saying like, oh, maybe it'll end at like the fourth thing, like before Cataclysm. Now, to me, and maybe this is crazy, so like correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't played World of Warcraft. That sounds like a gamble. And so you're saying it's going to split the player base, which I agree. But I actually wonder whether it's going to actually kill some of the player base because people might be like, well, I don't want to really make a decision right now. So I'll wait and see if they release more expansions. Because if it goes beyond, say, let's just say the community is okay with having the 4 expansions. If it goes beyond that, like if it does eventually do Cataclysm, then people's time that they've invested in X character in WoW Classic would be seen as like, well, you know, this isn't great because now I'm just playing an older version of World of Warcraft that's advancing slower.
Yeah. I mean, and they can always just choose not to resubscribe. Like there is that. I could see the sense of being like, oh wow, like why did I waste my time with this playing WoW Classic when now I'm just playing it like as it's progressing normally again through the standard progression.
Like could you see the player base at this point drop until let's say they get to whatever it is before Cataclysm, and then they say, and let's just say they make an announcement hypothetically and they say, this is it, you know, this is your WoW Classic package, you got your 4 things, choose to progress, or however they handle the different expansions with your character, choose to progress or not progress, you know, you do what you want to do. At that point, like I could kind of see from like an outsider's perspective, people coming back, but I've seen it, you know, before in games where they make an announcement that's sort of like, so then people disappear thinking, okay, I'll wait and see how the game pans out. And in this case, it's like possibly wait, you know, 3 more years or 2 more years or however long it's going to take to release these other things, and then they'll come back. But then by doing that, that could kill the game in and of itself. Now, of course, you said EverQuest, it's really popular, so maybe people in World of Warcraft are not as attached to their characters as I was playing MMOs as a kid, etc. So maybe I'm wrong there, but that's just like my 2 cents on that.
It would be really stupid of them to keep progressing. Because
really dumb, yeah.
Every time, like even just from a business perspective, because if you're making it so that every time an expansion comes out, you can either stick with the current expansion that you're in, or you can progress. Like I'm wondering, because they've said they've got era servers and they've got progression servers. Does that mean then when inevitably Wrath of the Lich King comes out, you're going to have just classic servers and then just Burning Crusade servers and then also progression up to Wrath of the Lich King servers? Or is it only classic or progression, which is just whatever the latest expansion is? Because if you're going to have individual servers for every expansion, those servers are going to be massively underpopulated.
Massively, yeah.
Because you're going to have, you know, if you've, say, I'm just throwing a number out there, I don't know how many people play classic, let's say 1 million. If you've got 300,000 people playing classic, and then you've got like 700,000 people playing progression, is that 700 then going to get split up again if they do just pools, BC? Right. And then is it 3 pools? And then is it 4 pools? And then is it 5 pools? Like the more that you split it, the more disparity you're going to have. And then each of these servers is probably going to be, I don't know, like, or each of these groupings of servers, these shards, how many servers is that going to be? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 2? Because like even if it's anything more than like 3 servers, you're gonna have your one that everybody is on. You're gonna have one that's full, and then you're gonna have either a bunch of like medium population servers or 2 full ones, and then everything else is going to be super low dead servers, and you're never going to be able to do a raid because there's no raid finder in WoW Classic. You can't just go, oh, I'd like to do a raid, or oh, I'll just like join any one of these dozen guilds that keep spamming me messages because I'm not in a guild, and you know they put a raid together every weekend. You know, you have to get into a populated server and hope that you get into a guild that actually has people coordinated enough that to actually put together a raid night and all physically go there. Like there's no fucking portaling, there's no flying mounts to get to them. Like you all have to physically run to that dungeon and you all have to go in at the same time. You have to hope you have the appropriate gear. Like it was fucking hardcore back in the day and you had to be on top of it. It's like keeping up with, you know, the COD meta or whatever, the Warzone meta these days, or Fortnite or whatever it is. Like you had to be on top of it. And you know, there's a lot of people that went back to play WoW Classic because they wanted that hardcore MMO experience, but there's also a lot of people that went back to Classic because they want that casual MMO experience that they're used to now, but just in the old expansions for the sake of nostalgia. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do over the next couple of years, and especially how the servers and how the player base reacts to what's going on, because I get a really bad feeling that there's going to be a lot of dead servers for Classic and no one's going to be able to enjoy the game because they want to play on the server because it's where their friends are, but they can't do anything because it's dead.
That's going to be interesting how they handle like the population, like because even to draw somebody away from like the base game, like you're already splitting the player base if people left the regular WoW to go and like run over to WoW Classic. Like you've already split it a little bit, you know, this is kind of a more niche thing, but it's still a little bit. And then to split that niche up, like,
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's not even that. It used to be when WoW Classic first came out, it used to be that you would buy a separate subscription for WoW Classic. And now whenever you buy a sub to WoW, you just get both.
Oh, I didn't know that it was separate. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't last very long, but now it's just you buy a WoW sub, you get all WoW in every form. But yeah, it's just like, it's not even something that could be resolved by like, oh, we'll just put these 2 servers populations together and then that fixes the problem of it being underpopulated. Different servers have different economies. So you're just going to fuck up the economy of both servers if you do that. I don't know. Unless they're going to introduce something like where they had sort of like the cross realm shard. I don't even know what you would call it, but it was basically just that like you could, if you're on a certain server, like there's different groupings of servers, and if you need to do things that involve finding a lot of other people, whether it's like or just ways to make the world feel more populated. So if you're running around in a zone and on your server there's maybe say like 25 people in that zone, they would combine the different shards of the different servers that were all connected together, and then they would just say, oh yeah, this person on this other server is also in the zone, so you can see them, you can interact with them, but there's certain things like trading and things you can't do with them because that would affect each server economy. But then you can also see them there almost as if they're kind of like visitors, I guess, to an extent. You can see them, you can interact with them, but they're not actually on your server. It's just a means of making the game world feel more populated. And then for like, Dungeon Finder and stuff like that, like you'd get paired with people that are on other servers just to make the queue times shorter.
Right.
Because if you're on like a super low population server and you're trying to queue for a dungeon, it's going to take you hours to find enough people to all queue for it at the same time, right? So anyway, that's my WoW Classic rant.
Oh, well, thank you for keeping up with the WoW industry.
Okay, yeah, hit me up in 2 years when it all happens again.
I'll see you guys in the recently announced Hearthstone Classic because they're doing the same shtick over there.
Yep.
They're separating that as well.
And that'll be the end of next week's show.
Matt, could you imagine playing Fallout 76 Classic?
Oh, I think you mean Walking Simulator 76?
Yeah.
You mean PlayStation Crash Blue Screen 76? Because that's probably what the Classic would be.
That's that OG experience. No, for me, the OG experience of Fallout 76 is finally managing to get onto a server, and there are no enemies, there are no NPCs. You get out of the vault, and half of the assets aren't loading. and then the game just like stops. It doesn't crash. It just stops working.
Sounds like you were on a server that crashed.
That's the OG Fallout 76 experience.
Jesus.
All right. Thanks for listening. You can find Tim streaming every weekday. Does that include Fridays?
Most weekdays. Usually not Fridays, but if I miss a day during the week, then I try to make up for it on Fridays.
Most weekdays,
But yeah.
twitch.tv/thatfigures. And you can also catch Tim on our stream on Wednesdays.
Ooh, spicy.
Doing the Sea of Thieves at twitch.tv/day1patchmedia.
For now.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Peace.